know one of the biggest obstacles to getting your muscles to lift in your at-home treatments? Stay tuned, I'm about to tell you. Welcome back, Christine Byer here, licensed esthetician for 20 years, and if you're new here, welcome. I'm here in my treatment room, and I work on a lot of older clients, and my specialty is anti-aging. A lot of people don't know, but when they try to lift, say, a cheek, and they're using their microcurrent, or you're using whatever you're using to lift. I hope you're using microcurrent to lift, because that's really one of the only modalities that can build muscle tissue. What is the biggest obstacle to getting that muscle to lift? The biggest obstacle is stuck fascia. So if you think about how many times you make expressions during the day, and how many times you wrinkle your face, and how many times you ball up your cheeks, that creates fascia fault lines. And these lines get deeper and deeper as we age, and it can inhibit blood flow a little bit, and certainly inhibit lymph drainage. It can inhibit the natural sort of flow of your face that you have when you're really young. And so tissues get dried out, and we get dehydrated, and our products don't absorb as well, and all sorts of bad things cascade in this yucky fashion. So what do we do to undo all that? Enter the Anma. So this is a gouache tool, and I realized that I've been using my old color. A colleague of mine took this gouache tool and tweaked it and made it better. And this little guy has saved my hands over the years. And this is the prettiest color. If you're trying to lift your cheek and you're just doing one of these or the beep beep beep, really, if you've been a normal day using your cheeks a whole bunch, you, I'm sure, have some tangled up fascia. And fascia is kind of like this 3D spider web, right? And it can be restricted at any level. So this is my favorite ways to lift the cheek, although you can go in and sort of dig up underneath there. If you have sinuses, this feels amazing. But this Anma, this came out, it's got to be 3-4 years ago, and Jane Mann, she has some videos on it as well. And I'll do this to a lot of clients. I remember it was 2015, and I hadn't taken Jane's class yet, and she has a class on facial contouring massage. And I worked on my mother-in-law's cheeks, and she has a very heavy cheek and a round face. That's just her anatomy of her face. She has lovely cheeks. My daughter has her cheeks. And I worked and worked and worked, and I'm like sweating. This is pre-facial contouring massage. I knew a little bit about fascia, I knew about lymph drainage, but I just didn't understand why after 15 minutes of trying to lift a cheek muscle, nothing happened. I was so upset. And so fast forward a year, I take Jane's class, and then I go back again and I work on my mother-in-law. Night and day difference. I was able to get her to drain, her cheeks drained like crazy. She got a really great result, and I'm going to show you those before and after pictures there. I can't tell you how the first time I worked on her, how disappointed I was that I was just sweating trying to lift her cheek, and then she sat up, and then nothing happened, and I was just like, no, I worked so hard, and I wanted to say ta-da, and then it was like wah, wah, wah. Nothing happened there. So it was really disappointing. Fast forward to I took her class and everything, and I was working like a mad woman with my fingers, and you can do all this fascia release with your hands. But when this came out, I was so excited, because once you learn how to wield this thing, it is the best anti-aging tool ever. This is an analogy that Jane Mann talks about in her classes, where if you think about a sponge that's old and dried up, that's sort of older skin, older fascia. And then you wet that sponge, and all of a sudden it's pliable and it moves. And that's younger skin, younger fascia. And so when we go in and we're working out all that restricted fascia from all those repetitive facial movements, the skin starts to be hydrated from within, and it's just a beautiful process. And the natural hyaluronic acid will be increased, and all sorts of good things start to happen because you get circulation, you get microcirculation, and it's that microcirculation that comes in and just makes the skin look amazing. It's going to carry away trapped blood if you have a lot of capillary action in your face. And matter of fact, I haven't been using this as much as I usually do, and I've noticed my face is a little bit redder than normal. But yeah, so you go in here and you release this cheek. And when I first got this, I was terrified to lift up, or sorry, to actually go over the cheek. But now I know you can go very lightly over the cheek. You can go a little deeper, but I tend to go deeper here because this fascia along this ridge is very sturdy fascia and it's thicker. So it can handle more pressure, and it usually does get bound up deeper within. So yeah, it's popping up. And a lot of times just on my clients, I'll go in and I'll just do something like this where I'm digging up underneath here. And I did a video on this too. I think it's called, the thumbnail said how to lift a heavy cheek. So you're just going in and releasing the fascia. So the biggest mistake I think people do when they first get their Anma is they go too deep. And the deal is, because fascia is like this 3D spider web, you'll get circulation, but you're gonna dive right past the fascia that's holding those little wrinkles in place, and any past blemish or scratch or injury to the skin, there's a little memory of that. Acne scarring, tons of fascia restrictions around past acne scarring. This was actually a homework that Jane would give her acne clients to do at home to start to break down all that restricted fascia holding all the acne scars in place. The biggest mistake is just diving too deep. And I like to tell people, learn how to use it on dry skin. Learn that pressure, because you go too deep and you're not going to release the very, very superficial stuff. And I don't know if you've ever had a massage, you've gotten a deep tissue massage, and you feel great that day. And then 2 days later, you feel like you need another one. It's because it would probably take them the whole day to release all of your fascia in your body. And they're just going for deep tissue work. And so they're getting circulation, but that tight fascia on the top just pulls everything back into place like a drum, like tight as a drum. So we need to go in with a light touch before we go deeper. And that is the biggest mistake I see people do with this. In climates where it's cooler and there's not as much humidity, this will slide and glide right over the face when it's dry. And so I always recommend learn to use it dry and then play around with it. You can use a light serum. You don't want it to be too grippy or too tacky, but you do want it to slide in a way that it's gonna break up that restricted fascia. And this always feels so good to go in here on the forehead. So the forehead you need to do light and then go deep-ish. The forehead can take kind of a lot of pressure, but you don't want to go too hard. So we've learned how to release the cheeks. I'm going to show you one last thing before we go. Doing the top of the head. If you have an Anma, I get the question all the time, how much should I use it? And I always say a little bit each day, as much as possible, or a little. I aim for 5 minutes a day and a full treatment at least once every 2 weeks. And you'll know your trouble areas. But I say leave it on the bedstand. Use it in the shower. Put it someplace where you're going to see it on a daily basis and you'll see it often. You could put it in your purse, but if your purse is like mine, it will just disappear and then you'll forget about it. So put it somewhere you're going to see it, your nightstand, and aim to use it at least 5 minutes a day. And if you can do one thing, let it be your scalp. A lot of my clients, this is like their main place that they hold tension. And if you're trying to get your eyes to lift and they won't lift for the life of you, it could be that you need to rehydrate this scalp And a lot of times it's good to just work with the Anma or work with massage first before you start any machines or before you start any of the yummy skincare products that you see here on YouTube. I know there are so many, but really that is the way it needs to be introduced, I believe, is targeted massage and myofascial release, lymph drainage, high performance multitasking products, and then machines. Because if you go in reverse, you can get a lymph traffic jam and it just won't look as good as you can look. You need to open things up, start to get things rehydrated, loosen up tech neck, loosen up all these things that happen from daily life, and then start to introduce all the good stuff. And if people want to do everything all at once, and that's fine, but if you miss this step, it's going to take you a lot longer to get where you need to go. And you might not ever get there if you've got restricted fascia. I had a client, and she's actually in my club, and I love it. She is a big proponent of facial exercises, and I'm fine with facial exercises. I think they're okay, but I think they can have unintended consequences. This is a gal from my group, and she says, I am so excited about finding you. I'm 38 years old, and for 2 years I had been doing facial exercises, but only after making my face worse. No matter how hard I tried, I finally gave up. I started because I had a few eye wrinkles, and that's all. But now I have really bad bags under my eyes, 11s, nasolabials, and marionette lines. I look as if I've aged 10 years. After watching a lot of your videos, I have determined that I think my face is just so knotted up and tight due to the exercises. I've lost the nice even flow. I've been working really hard at releasing the fascia by doing your fascia release sculpting massage and the Anma, and I'm already slowly starting to look like myself again. Thank you. So it just goes to show that overuse of muscles, whether intended or just from life, really knots up our face, and that targeted massage on a regular basis goes a long way in making us look better for the long haul. Thanks for watching. Bye now.